What does sound money protect us from?
From having your wealth stolen is the biggest thing. So they're basically stealing your labor from you. They're making you work for them. Yes, it's about 65 pounds. These RCM bars, they're beautiful.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Yankee Stacking. I am pleased to have Jim Forsythe, Chairman of Citizens for Sound Money, on with me. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks for having me.
You were a aerospace engineer, a United States Air Force pilot for 13 years. Thank you for that service. You were a former New Hampshire state senator, and you were also Ron Paul's New Hampshire campaign chairman. And now you're the chair of the Citizens for Sound Money, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But maybe the most impressive thing of all is that you're a precious metals stacker. Is that right?
That's fair to say, yeah.
All right, good. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not sure if you're prepared for this, but do you have any of your stack with you?
I do. It's right behind me, actually.
Oh,
Except
wow.
that big bar is not mine, I'm afraid to say. I wish it were. That's getting sent off to somebody. It's a Royal Canadian Mint 1,000-ounce bar, so that's what the futures markets use.
Is that within arm's reach?
Yeah. You want to test my strength?
I do. I want to see that thing.
Yes, it's about 65 pounds. These RCM bars, they're beautiful. I've seen a lot of 1,000-ounce bars, and
Wow.
most of them are really hideous, but this one's beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah, so now everybody says 1,000-ounce, but notice it's 964.2. They're allowed to vary plus or minus 10%.
Interesting. Thanks for curling that for us. Again, I mentioned that you are the chair of Citizens for Sound Money. Can you tell us what that is and how you got involved in it?
Yeah, so it's a 501c4, so nonprofit, and its goal is to encourage the use of sound money and protect people's right to do so. So the first part is kind of what you're doing, which is raise awareness, spread the word that silver and gold are money, and try to encourage people to use them. And from us, it's not only stacking, but also, to start using them as money, which is hard for people to do because of Gresham's law. We've been focused on that first part for the most part, but we've teamed up with Sound Money Defense League, Jose Cortez, who does a fantastic job at the state level, eliminating sales tax in lots and lots of states. I think we're down to 13, 14 left. So he's done a great job with that. And so we help him out with that. My interest goes back to Ron Paul, and, having been to the Soviet Union and seeing that, I became a big believer in free markets. But then Ron Paul educated me on the monetary aspect, how that was, every trade, 50% of every trade is for dollars or money. And therefore you can't have a free market without having sound money. And then, recently when the silver squeeze kicked off, Wall Street silver started up. Mm-hmm. I kind of figured now is the time, for because every fiat currency throughout history's collapsed. There's been something like 6,000 of them, and they've always failed. Mm-hmm. And so this one will fail as well. It's a matter of time and circumstances. Right. And I figure we're getting close. I enlisted the aid of Marion, who's now our executive director, and we just started, being active in the community, active in PR, and then eventually decided that we should, start a nonprofit, kind of make it official and go to town.
Let's back up just for a second for people who are watching this and might not know what sound money is. Can you explain what that is and why it's important?
Yeah, somebody's asked about this yesterday, and really it's money, and we call it sound money now to distinguish it versus fiat. But gold and silver arose naturally as money over time. People used to barter, but chances are you want to trade somebody for something. If they only make cows, you can only eat so much beef, and so you need to trade something. You need to trade something other than cows. And gold and silver rose naturally. And you were talking about platinum, palladium, and all these things. Well, there's nothing that looks like gold, and that's why gold has been so successful as money. My understanding is platinum, palladium, they really haven't had a monetary role, mainly because they weren't discovered till fairly recently.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, I'm going to be giving that away to some lucky winner. So I checked your website out. It's really good. Citizensforsoundmoney.org. That's citizens, the number 4, soundmoney.org. You have some really good examples about the impact of not having sound money. One of them was using 5 quarters, and I got 5 quarters right here on my desk. And you described those 5 quarters in terms of minimum wage. Okay, so 5 quarters, it's $1.25 face value, right? And
Right.
that was the minimum wage back in 1964, which is when this one was minted. Okay, and today I think the federal minimum wage is $7.25. I know some states have higher minimum wages, like 13. I think $15 an hour is what's going to be happening in some states like California, Massachusetts, and so forth. But the melt value of those 5 quarters is $16 melt. So
Right.
that is higher than the minimum wage of any state in the country.
With sound money, you can put your money under the mattress, wait 30 years, and
Right.
it's held its value. And because of productivity increases, it's probably increased its purchasing power. Like, the Romans with an ounce of gold could buy a toga and some sandals. Now you can buy like a very nice Italian suit that's much nicer than a toga.
Right.
So
Right.
in essence, because of productivity, you can get wealthier over time, as opposed to, so they pretend to help people out by raising the minimum wage, and they haven't even kept up with inflation.
It's so true.
And you've got quarters, but there's the minimum wage in dimes.
Oh, look at that.
I've got a bag
Nice.
of these.
Yeah. By the way, that's the sound of sound money. I love that sound.
Yeah.
Because real money is gold and silver. It is what's written in the Constitution.
Yeah, they learned from the saying, "Not worth the Continental," right?
Yeah.
The Continental, they basically briefly turned to fiat, and that really collapsed. Greenback, same way, Civil War.
Yes.
So the dollar's a currency, and people will poke fun and say, well, you can't fill your tank with gold, et cetera, and so forth. Well, but that's the distinction between currency and money. Right now, it's tough to directly spend gold and silver, although that's changing as we talk about. But the mistake people make is saying, "Oh, well, I have to have dollars to buy these things." That's true, but you don't have to save in dollars. People mistakenly save in their currency versus in money.
That's a good distinction there. So, Jim, what is your assessment of our current fiscal and monetary situation in the U.S.?
So, over the previous 2 years, they printed like 40% more dollars. You've got all these demographics like Social Security. We've hit the point where it's in a deficit now, and that will continue to grow. And now somebody was saying the COLA this year is, I think, 9%.
Yes, the cost of living adjustment.
Adjustment, right? So Social Security goes up 9% because of inflation. So what do you do to pay Social Security? You print more money, which then creates inflation, which then creates another COLA and increases Social Security. And that's kind of the doom loop. That's the problem that Weimar Germany ran into. Is there's a feedback loop between the money printing versus the expenditures the government has to make, and you get this exponential growth. And at some point, Gresham's law kicks in, which is, bad money drives out good, and people start to hoard or stack gold and silver, and then that accelerates, the collapse of the currency. And when that happens, it can happen very quickly. And I'm not saying a hyperinflationary collapse will occur, but gold and silver are insurance against that.
The United States has the reserve currency status of the world, right, Jim? Do you think
it does?
Do you think there's any chance that we could lose that status?
Well, we have been losing that status. I mean, it's been the usage of the dollar by other countries has been decreasing. What happened with Russia is going to accelerate that, but it's not going to be like a light switch where it goes away. But having the world reserve currency doesn't prevent this kind of outcome, in my opinion. What it means is the effects of this kind of outcome are going to be so bad that the world's not going to let it get that far before something's done about it.
We would be the first world reserve currency to hyperinflate if that were to happen. But I think we're going to lose that status through conflict or through an agreement to reset the dollar to some global currency voluntarily. Something big is coming.
Yeah, another Bretton Woods.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. In fact, what is your opinion on, let's say, digital currencies in general, specifically cryptocurrencies, stablecoin, and central bank digital currencies?
Well, of those, central bank digital currencies is a nightmare. Just imagine what happened in Canada with the truckers. Imagine bail-ins in Cyprus. Well, now you can do that on a personal level, and use people's data against them. So, like, you have a social credit score. All of a sudden, you can't spend your money anymore.
Right.
So that's an absolute nightmare. I hope we don't get to that. I think the way they'll try to encourage people to adopt it is like a universal basic income paid onto it. Then you'll get everybody signing up. But I see crypto as a very genius idea. The lack of tangible asset backing concerns me. So I see it. But in the end, people get to decide what money is, not governments. That's a big thing with me. And currently some people are deciding that some of these cryptos are money, and maybe more will. But I think nothing beats thousands of years of tested gold. But now with blockchain, which if set up properly can't be tampered with, you can monitor. We call them asset-backed digital currencies, like a gold, silver digital currency, not by a government, but by private enterprise, audited, redeemable. That's a big thing because every monetary system needs a cash equivalent. So any system like that needs to be redeemable. I think that space is just going to really explode over the coming years. In fact, Indonesia just took the first steps to adopt something like that. They're started with this digital gold system. It's Kinesis, being their spot market for gold.
What does sound money protect us from?
From having your wealth stolen is the biggest thing. If you're sitting in paper currencies, as they print more money, they've essentially stolen your purchasing power. And when you think of that, it's your purchasing power, your dollars, your money. That's your earnings. That's your labor. So they're basically stealing your labor from you. They're making you work for them. And it can get even worse than that. Besides inflation, we interviewed somebody that went through the Cyprus bail-in, and he had put together a business distributing computers. And one day they said, anything above 100,000 in your bank account is gone. He had like 1.2 million in there, and he was left with 100,000, which is like, oh, well, he's rich. Who cares? Well, he had payroll to make. After paying off his payroll and everything, he had nothing. He was in debt. And he was providing a service for people in that country, getting computers for cheaper. So that's another thing sound money protects you from. If he had his holdings in gold and silver, safely stacked or vaulted with somebody you trust, he would have been protected from that.
Have you actually taken some of these really beautiful rounds that you guys have made? Beautiful design, and I have to admit, I love the reverse the best.
Yeah,
being in New Hampshire, right?
By the way, let me strongly acknowledge Martin. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Martin Glavik, who's out there in New Hampshire. He volunteered one day and just sent us some artwork, and we really liked it. And he said, "How can I help?" And when we got the opportunity to make coins, we had him design the coins, and that's between him being from New Hampshire and me being from New Hampshire. Some other people were like, "Well, I don't like the New Hampshire thing." I said, "Nope, I'm the chair. What's going on now?"
You made the right decision, Jim.
I've tipped a lot of people with them. I have spent gold and silver on some things for sure, physical.
How did that go?
It went really well, actually. We had some people come out and do work on our house. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, I tipped them all with an ounce of silver because it was like a 3-day project. And they were just like, "Oh, thanks so much. This is so cool." Like, and then we got into the conversation about inflation, et cetera. Next time they came to do a job, the guy, the owner of the company was saying, "Yeah, I'm thinking of buying some coins." I was like, well, I don't really have enough cash to pay you right now. How about if I pay you some in gold? And, like, we'll value it at the mid price between, if you were to go buy it from a coin store, or if I were to sell it to a coin store, we'll set the price somewhere in the middle there. So yeah, 3 ounces of gold plus some cash to do that project.
Very cool. How likely do you think our government or central bank will return to sound money?
So how likely is the government or the central bank to adopt sound money? Right. I think only until things are so bad that they have to. But remember, governments didn't decide gold and silver money. People did. Governments got involved in coining. They got involved in that, and then central banks, which was a stupid mistake. I mean, Andrew Jackson and Jefferson fought against having a central bank because it just, encourages a lot of risk taking on the banks. Anyway, no one should be waiting for the government or the Federal Reserve to solve this problem. You solve it for yourselves. Start using gold and silver as money. And like I said, with the digital options, Load, Kinesis Cash, others, there's ways that you can do that now. Debit cards where you have gold and silver, it's vaulted, and you can swipe your debit card, it instantly transacts and switches it over to dollars to make the payment. We need more transparency. We need to, have something that we know is one-to-one, that we don't have to trust a government to ensure that's one-to-one. And that's a free market solution is what we need.
Thanks for joining me on my channel. How can people learn more about your great movement and maybe get involved in it?
Yeah, so like you said, the website Citizen for Sound Money with number 4 .org. And there's a newsletter you can sign up there. That's a great way to get information on these coins, how you can get them at cost, and also keep up to date on what we're doing. And then on Twitter, it's @4SoundMoney is our account.
Oh, that's excellent. Thanks so much, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.